this activity, you are going to need your very cool hand-cut beetle stencil, your piece of white cloth, black paint, short wires, long wire, a piece of stick, your sponge, your beads, these very fun, cool ribbons, bleeding tissue paper, a fresh little cup of water, and your paintbrush. And don't forget, you might need your scissors too. Okay, so gather your things and we are gonna start on the new activity called a beetle wall hanging. Hello everybody, today we are gonna be making this adorable beetle wall hanging. It's very colorful, it's very fun, and it looks really cool hanging up. The first step that we are going to do is taking our piece of white fabric and we're gonna lay it out in front of us and carefully place our bleeding tissue paper to cover the entire surface of our piece of fabric. So it's called bleeding fabric because when you get this, bleeding tissue paper, it's called that because when you get this wet, all the color is gonna come out, and that is how we're gonna color our wall hanging. It kind of has a cool tie-dye effect, and I really like it. You guys will see when we're done. So the first step that you're gonna do, you're gonna press pause and you're gonna go and cover the entire surface of your fabric. So it's completely covered in these squares. Okay, now my fabric is completely covered in these bleeding tissue papers. Try not to cough or sneeze. They might go poof and fly everywhere. But once they're placed there, you're gonna take your sponge here and you're gonna dip it in your clean water, just like about halfway. Lift it up, get all the extra drips off, and you're gonna start to sponge on here, but the trick is to hold it down for a few seconds in each area. So I'm gonna start at the top corner and work my way down. So getting our sponge nice and wet, I'm gonna press down lightly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm gonna lift up. If your tissue paper comes off with your sponge, just place it back down. This gets easier as you move on. They'll start to stick a little bit better. Okay, so I did one spot. I'm gonna dip it back in my water again and press it on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and carefully lift up my sponge. Sometimes if you lift it straight up, it might pull off the tissue paper, but if you roll it off like this, it works better. Come on back, press the pause button, cover all of your tissue paper, and then press play for the next step. As you can see, my sheet is fully covered here. Now we get to peel off the tissue paper. I'll hold mine up so you can see. Oh wow. This is so fun. Oh, I think my pink needs a little bit more water. Look at that. So if you feel like it didn't get enough water, add a little bit more. Let it soak on there. And if you're having a hard time with a sponge, if you have a spray bottle of water, that also works really good too. There we go. All right, I'm gonna peel these off. Oh yes, it does look like tie-dye. All right, very cool. And you can leave it to the side to dry a little bit. It's okay if it's gonna be wet anyways. Okay, so the next thing we wanna do, our next step, is we are going to get our stick, our long piece of wire, and our beads. All right, so get these, open your beads up, have them ready. You're gonna wanna take your stick in one hand, your wire in the other hand, join them together, hold them together. So hold the stick and the wire together, and you're gonna start coiling your wire around the stick like that, like a snake going around a branch. So it will be stuck on one side, like that. Okay, so now I have my stick on. I'm gonna start threading my beads onto my wire so that we can make a handle like this. All right, so go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back with the next step. Now that I've added all of my beads to my wire, I made sure to leave a little bit of space at the end to coil the other end around my stick so that the beads don't fall off. So I'm gonna wrap it around so it's nice and snug. And there you have your handle for your wall hanging. So attach the other end and yeah, meet me back here in a minute and show me how you did. Good job on your handle, everybody. It should look something like this. If you're not sure if it's on tight enough, go grab an adult, go see, ask them if it's on good. It's gonna be your handle. The next step we need to take is we are gonna take our piece of fabric, bring it back here. We're gonna put the side with the 2 holes at the top and the side with many holes on the bottom here. And then we're gonna take all of our fun ribbons here and we're gonna thread one piece at a time through these holes. So I'm gonna do my yellow ribbon first. I'm gonna pull it halfway through so that it's hanging like this. And take the rest of your ribbon and one at a time, stick it through the holes that we already made for you. If you feel like maybe a hole is too small, just get your scissors and just cut it a little bit wider, just a little bit though, just a little bit at a time. So I'm gonna pull my purple ribbon through. Next we'll do this cool orange one. And fill up all those holes going across the bottom, pulling halfway through. If you're not sure, lift it up and see. And fill out all the holes with the rest of your ribbons. If you have extra ribbons, you can double up a couple of ribbons and so it'll be fluffier, okay? So go ahead and do that. Press pause and meet me back here once you've added all of your ribbons to the bottom of your creation, okay? Now that you have finished putting all your ribbons through your holes, you're gonna wanna tie them. So I'm gonna take my 2 yellow pieces and make a tie just like you were doing a knot and tight, okay? Not too tight. I'm gonna take my purple ends, tie them up. If you're having a hard time doing this, just go ahead and ask an adult, they can help you tie. Go ahead and press pause, tie up all your ribbons so they're nice and secure, and I'll see you back here again. All of my ribbons are tied on. It's looking nice and bright and colorful. I'm just gonna go ahead and take my scissors and trim some of them. You can keep them all different lengths, different sizes. Everybody's style is different. I'm gonna cut mine just so they're almost the same length, but a little bit different each. I got a lot of orange ribbons in mine. I really like that color. Come on, scissors, there we go. Okay, so now that you have all of these attached, we are going to lay this down with the ribbons hanging down in front of you. And we're gonna save our handle for later, and we are going to take our beetle stencil. So take your beetle stencil and try to place it in the middle of your fabric as best as you can. If the legs go off the edge a little bit, that's okay. You're gonna wanna place your stencil right onto your fabric, just like this, okay? Go ahead and do that, get it nice and straight. Press pause, and come on back when your stencil's all lined up nice and straight. Okay, I'm really excited about this part. You're gonna wanna take your black paint. So guys, this is acrylic paint. We used acrylic paint because we want it to be nice and not bleeding off of our fabric. So if you're gonna use this, make sure you have an apron or some clothes you don't like. Try not to get too much on your clothes. All right, take that sponge you were using earlier. Make sure all of the water is squeezed out of it. So it's not fully dry, but pretty dry. I squeezed all of mine out of it. I'm gonna take my paintbrush. We're not gonna dip it directly in because that might put too much paint on our sponge. So what we're gonna do instead is we're gonna dip our brush inside the paint and we're gonna brush on black paint on one side of our sponge, okay? cover the whole square. And then, using one hand to hold your stencil in place so that it doesn't move. You can also tape down your stencil if you're worried about it moving, but this shouldn't take too long. I'm gonna use my hand to hold my stencil down. I'm gonna take the side that has the black paint and I'm gently gonna sponge on top of my stencil. So I need a little bit more paint on mine now that I've done this spot. So I'm gonna put my sponge back down here. I'm gonna keep my hand holding my stencil down so it doesn't move. Dab on some more paint. Maybe I should have put more paint on the first time, maybe a couple layers, but it doesn't hurt to fill it over and over again. Okay, so I have refilled paint on here, holding my stencil in place. I'm gonna push down and sponge, sponge, sponge. This is fun. All right. So sponge over your whole stencil and come on back here and I'll show you what to do next. I have fully covered my stencil with black. It's time to lift up my stencil and see how my beetle looks. I really hope this worked. Oh my goodness, it's looking really cool. Here we have our cool beetle wall hanging. So all we need now is to add the top handle. The next step, you want to take your handle and you're going to want to attach the stick to the holes with the smaller wires that we gave you. So putting a wire through each hole just like this, I like to bend it to keep it in place like that. So you have 2 wires going through the 2 holes at the top. And you're gonna wanna just twist the wires together. I even attach it to the wire on my handle like this. And then, there you have it, a very cool beetle wall hanging. As you can see from my other one, I chose to add a little bit more details inside of my beetle. So if you guys want to do that, add some eyes, add some extra antennas or some designs in the body, you can do that as well. Or you can leave it like this, however you like it. I think this looks really great. Good job, everybody.